Okay. I think I'm all caught up on my to-do list. So, hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we looked at a few Festival Buddy 2 bugs and some further improvements there. And today we're going to be switching to look at the Rich! Plugin, which was also written originally by Galahad, who wrote the original Festival Buddy plugin. I've been inspired by the RT plugin and Foul Map plugins to add an interactive map to Rich that lets me document where I've done cave claws or dowsing gems and what they found and which sites are no longer present because someone dug them up. And so I want to show you what I've done so far and then see if we can make some further progress during the stream. So as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and remind ourselves what is the treasure, buried treasure event. Now, Little Redhead just went through on her stream at the end of it some of this, so if this is duplicate information, my apologies. But the treasure event is held place in something called the Lowlands, which is just northwest of Gondomar. There's a stable master here. You can ride to it from places like Bree. And if you're not sure what that looks like, we're just going to travel to West Bree right here. There is a stable master right next to the normal west gate of Bree stable master that has only one destination, and that is here. So here we are, Bree. We've got the normal stable master. We have the festival announcer stable master who will take us to the treasure camp for free. Awesome. If you haven't been to the buried treasure event on your character, there will be an introduction quest that you can follow along to learn what's going on. That takes place in the pit here on the right. And once you're done with that, there are two quests that you can complete every 15 minutes that give you the basic supplies that you need for the buried treasure event. From Aladulf here, you can get 2 treasure hunters picks, and other than spending LOTRO points, generally, treasure hunter picks are the hardest things to get a hold of in the buried treasure event. And for the trained cave claw, if you bring it berries, you'll get 2 more picks plus a trained cave claw cage, which can also be bartered using the currency of the event, the buried treasure tokens, and a dowsing gem. Same, you can also barter for those. The treasure hunter picks, the only way to get these once you run out is paying LOTRO point or these 2 quests. So the fact that you can do these every 15 minutes is great. For Alduf, he's just sending you over to Halthor here. You talk to Halthor, and Halthor's like, fine, here, have some more picks. One thing about that particular quest is it will give you a reminder that you can purchase the treasure picks in the LOTRO store. So if you do run out, and if you do have extra LOTRO points that you want to spend on this, you can buy 1 for 50 or a 5-pack for 200. However, my basic strategy is to instead do other things, real life stuff. Maybe I've got some homework for a class, maybe I'm cooking in the kitchen, and just come back every 15 minutes and run at least one of these 2 quests. The easiest one is to just run across the little street there to the other guy, get 2 of the picks. To get a little bit more, you can come out here, get the berries. But if I had to do just one of them, I would just pick up the quest, walk across the street, turn the quest in, get my 2 pickaxes, go back to something I'm doing in real life. All of these things are bound to your character, however, so you can't just cycle along 10 different alts, picking up 2 pickaxes and then consolidate them among one character. If we come take a look at this, we can see this is bound to Affidel, which is the current character. The dowsing gems, same thing, bound to Affidel. The trained cave claw cages, also bound to Affidel. So, there's no trading these back and forth. I feel like once upon a time that might have been bound to account, but it's definitely bound to character right now. Okay, so if you are looking to barter those things, come to Sigtur here. You can get dowsing gems and trained cave claw cages. One dowsing gem costs you 1. The cave claws only cost 5, which is super cheap for what they give you. And you can get a map to come back here for 1 buried treasure token if you, for some reason, don't have quick access nearby one of the stable masters who will do the same. Cool. So, what's going on? Once you're on the buried treasure field, there are a bunch of dig sites arranged like this. And this is where I've already done some work on expanding the plugin. And we can see some of them are already gone. For instance, this dig site has been dug up by somebody. And this dig site is still here. Awesome. So, one of the things I want to do with this plugin is be able to mark when a dig site is no longer there. Because if it's not there, it shouldn't be included on the map, and we shouldn't include it for like how effective is this circle going to be, this visualization. And as Little Red had pointed out, there's three ways to interact with these dig sites. You can get information about them if you drop one of your cave claws. We'll go find a good place for that. How about here? That seems pretty good. Maybe we'll scooch just a little bit to the right. We'll go ahead and drop this cave claw, and it says it found a small dig site. So the cave claw is going to go to the best thing, we have been told. So we can assume that everything around here is small or less. Well, small is the smallest. So all of those ones in this circle here are not worth looking at unless you're trying to get something that only comes from small dig sites. There are certain cosmetics and things that you can find in each of the sizes of dig sites. And so if you are looking for that, instead of buying it from the barterer, then you'll be looking for specific sizes of dig sites. We'll come to another cave claw right here. All right, I found a large dig site. Awesome. Now, the super large ones, huge sites, are what I'm specifically looking at for, because this character is only missing something that comes from the huge sites. But 12 buried treasure tokens isn't bad, which is what I got out of there. Okay, so the other thing you can do is use these dowsing gems. When you use a dowsing gem, you will have an induction bar, and whatever dig site you are focused on when the induction bar ends is what you get information on. And I say it that way because I have made the mistake of clicking on a dig site, clicking on the dowsing gem, and then clicking off to a different dig site and misleading myself to what the information was. Because the information is always, what dig site are you focusing on when you finish this induction bar? Getting a strong reading there. If I come over here and look at what's at this dig site, I'm getting a very weak reading. So what I've done in the past is I've activated the dowsing gem and then gone ahead and clicked to the next site. Oh, well, it's working. Gone to the next site and said, oh, that's a strong one. Well, this is what I started using it on. So dig it up and only find a small chest, because I misunderstood what was going on. It's whatever one you're targeting when the induction finishes, not when it starts. But we got better out of the small than the large, as it turns out. Okay, so we have a map here. This is a roughly 30-meter circle. And I'm a little concerned about that, because while the cave claws can definitely spot more than the 20 meters that the tooltip suggests. For instance, I have stood on this little point here many times. It's one of my favorite points to stand. It's because it's so easy to find. And I have had a cave claw go over to this dig site. And that dig site is 28 meters away. So there's no way the circle is just 20 meters. But something that you've probably noticed at this point is that the cave claw starts not where you are, but a meter offset from you. And so even if the cave claw, hey, it's a large site, nice. Even if the cave claw has a 30-meter radius around it, it's not going to be 30 meters from where you are, probably. It's probably going to be 30 meters from where it is. I don't actually know. Under the covers, maybe it's drawing a circle from where you are, and where the cave claw pops up is kind of cosmetic, maybe not. But to err on the side of caution, what I want to do is assume that it is 1 meter off from you in whatever direction. So if we're looking for that dig site, which is 28 meters away, we should assume that the cave claw is going to see it 29 meters away if it's standing behind me. So if it does have a legitimate 30-meter range, we should downgrade that, because it might be standing a meter away from whatever you think it's going to go for. So we should assume 29 meters until proven otherwise. So that's a thought that I've had in my head for this. I also have in my head that I'd like to be able to color code these rings similar to the color coding that we use for the rarity of items, where you start with yellow, then you go to purple, then you go to cyan, then you go to orange. Because these colors are so ubiquitous in the Lord of the Rings Online environment, that feels like a good way to hook into people's ideas of how good the thing is that you found. Well, we have a problem because I've already started using the color yellow here because I wasn't thinking about that. So first thing I want to do is go ahead and swap that out to, I don't know, maybe a transparent black. See how that looks? So we can save that yellow for later. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and into the code and take a look at that. And we'll come back to the state of the code in the repository later. Okay, so we want to come down to the images section of globals, wherever that happens to be. Awesome. So preview circle is currently yellow. I've already pre-made the file, so we're going to call it black instead. And we want to go ahead and get a dig site black as well and see just what does it look like once you have it all said and done. Okay, so we've added 2 entries here. We're going to come on in to the map button, and instead of dig site yellow, we're going to do dig site black and just see what that's like. Hey, the round has ended. Awesome. I'm actually going to wait a second so that the timing of the new round, the plugin gets that before we unload. Sagosi says, good evening. Good evening. Waiting for a new round. Okay, there we go. So we can go ahead and unload and reload this. All right, new round has begun. Let's go ahead and fire off one of these cave claws. Yeah, it was a small dig site. That's always depressing when you see that. All right, I do not really like the black ring there, but it is distinct from the 4 other colors that I want to make use of. So, that's kind of ugly. A medium dig site. Fantastic. You know, I'm going to toss a dowsing gem at this far one. It's not worth a cave claw. It's very weak. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so black is not what I would call the best color for this at the moment. But you know, yellow is... Maybe I spoke too soon. Yellow is in use, but yellow stands for the worst thing it could be. So that's probably a fine thing to kind of tentatively say, well, at least you know it's going to be the worst thing it can possibly be. So we're going to go ahead and switch these back. And remember, while you can use the plugin manager to unload things, it only has an unload all button. So if you're interested in such things, you can always type /plugin space unload space and then the name of the apartment that your plugin is in. And your apartment, if you do a /plugins space list, the apartment is the thing in parentheses after your plugin, if it has a predefined apartment. So in this case, we can do plugins /plugin space unload space rich, and we can do the same thing. We can load rich as well, because that is the name of the plugin. Cool. Okay, so now we're back to yellow. I really do like the optics of that better. So that's a quick overview of the Buried Treasure event and the progress that we have so far on this map. We have the location of most, if not all, of the dig sites mapped out. We have a map which shows you the area and shows you what is probably in range. The first thing we want to do is revisit this circle, because this circle is scaled to 30 meters, and what we want to do is bring it down to 29 meters. And for that, we need some math. So let's go ahead and open up a spreadsheet. If your plugin doesn't involve spreadsheets, what are you even doing with your life? We're in Rich. I've made some sources, and let's go look at some measurements. So one thing I needed to know was how far in the game's coordinate system is 20 meters or 30 meters. Yes, Wizik, get rich quick with a spreadsheet. If you haven't seen it, there's a stats section of the Rich plugin which will track for each of your characters how many chests they've found, how many rounds they've been in, all of that. Okay, it's kind of like a mini spreadsheet. So, in our sources, we have lowlands measurements. So, what you can do in this game is you can use the /LOC command and finding something on your radar that's a specific distance away. So, for instance, Angelus there is 17 meters away from me right now. So one thing I like to do is try to get lined up as close to one of the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. And you can do this if you're paying attention to the output of your /LOC. One of the last things here is H, and that stands for heading. And we can see we're at 5.6 degrees in a system that has 0 at the top, positive going clockwise. So 0, 90, 180, 270. And so what you can do is, using your mouse, you can very gently rotate your character so that your heading is 0. And this is a bug that's actually caught some developers out. If your heading is 0, it doesn't show up in this string. So you got to make sure you're expecting the heading thing to just disappear entirely if it's 0. So if you get to that point, what you can do is just line yourself up. We're still facing due north. And just start walking. Okay, we're at 40, 14, 15, 19. Okay, we just hit 20. Now, what we don't have is very good precision here. We have 18.0, 98.9. It's just not precise enough for what we need. But you know what we do have is a handy-dandy plugin by community member Thurlor called Precise Coordinates. Let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, so once we have that, I'm going to get rid of this map here. Once you have precise coordinates, you can go ahead and hit the green arrow to refresh your list, load that in, and every time you do /LOC, you're going to get an output of what that is. Agartha says, too much math, and you might be accused of going off on a tangent. Oh, and Little Redhead points out that Casper is loafing on the couch right behind me. He's been there for hours. I think he's just going to circle back up and go back into disc mode soon. But if you're a cat spotter, that's for one of them. Actually, I think Kato's right above him up on the cat tower. Good job, cats. Way to be visible. So, we have the precise coordinates, and that's going to spit out these values to 2 decimal digits of precision. But you know what? When we are talking about moving like a step, 2 decimal digits of precision isn't actually that good. If I step forward and redo this, I get the same value. It's not a precise enough register of where you are in the game. But that's okay. As plugin developers, we can say, hey, maybe we can do something about that. So let's come on in to Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, and we're going to go into Thurlor and the precise coordinates. Now, there's only one .lua file here. This is a really simple plugin. The only thing we want to do is find %2, which is a way of formatting things, well, %.2. %.2, which is a way of formatting things to 2 decimal digits of precision, and just bump that up. We're going to do it to 4 decimal digits instead. So unload that, reload precise chords, and now we have a lot of precision. So if I take a step forward, we can see that the value changes. It went from 899 to 890. Now, do we need to lop it off at 4? Could we do like 6? Yeah, sure, why not? There may not be enough precision in the original numbers for that, but, you know, let's find out. Okay, so if I take a single step, we can see that the last digit doesn't really seem to be doing much. It seems to always be 0. And the next one doesn't seem to change very much either. We can see maybe we could make use of 5. 6 seems excessive for what we're trying to do. Okay, cool. Let's just get 5 digits of precision. So now that we have a way to accurately say down to the footstep where we are in this area of the game, we can go ahead and find out what does it mean to be that far away, really, from your target. Are you causing problems because you have a quest? All right, fine. Cool. So we are however many meters away. If we're trying to find, let's say, 28 meters, let's find just at the point where we go from 28 to 29. There we go. Now, I'm actually still running, so to get this even more precise, I've hit, Shift Insert on mine in order to turn off the running. Okay, so we are just at crossing the border between 28 and 29. So let's grab those coordinates. Cool. Just to kind of show you where I'm coming from, if we say 28/29 meters, that is going to be. I don't actually care if it's south or north because for the measurements I'm doing, we're going to involve multiplying it together. Okay, so that's that, and then the origin. We want to see what's going on with this guy. All right, we're still facing due north. Excellent, no heading. Okay, so I'm standing pretty much right on top of him. Now I'm slightly off because of horizontal, but really I'm just trying to get a distance. So that's fine. So we're going to come in here and split that apart into two cells. Cool. So our origin was this, our destination was this. So what is the distance? So we get that level distance. We can see we were really precise. Like we shifted a little bit, probably because we were going up a hill, and that caused us to drift slightly. But it was very close. And if you found some flat ground, maybe in Brie or something, you could do this even more precisely. So if we are drifting a little bit in the X direction and a lot in the Y direction, we can see how much did we actually move using Pythagoras' theorem. So we do the square root of sum of the squares. So we square this one, we square this one, and we take the square root. So 0.1429. That's the distance we're looking at for what we're talking about. The other thing we need to do is be able to convert that into pixels in game. And so one of the things we've already needed to do that was done off screen was for the Festival Buddy 2 plugin. Nope, I'm on autopilot. For the Rich plugin, for this map, you need to know, in order to be able to tell where you are in here, you need to know what the left, top, right, and bottom coordinates are for this. You can pair that up into the upper left and the bottom right, but ultimately, you need to be able to tell how many pixels over and down you are in this system. And the same thing for plotting all of these circles. So if we know how many pixels we are and how big the map is, we can know how many pixels this correlates to. Agartha says, do you think that the K-Plug cares about Z distance? It's a great question. So much of this has a little bit of topography, but not a lot. The obvious one that I can think of that would really trigger an issue is this dig site over on the side here, right? It's right smack in the middle of a pretty large elevation change. But my guess is it would feed into the same system that tells you how far away something is here. So let's reproduce this, right? So we're at 10 meters here. So we're going to go ahead and try to get our heading reasonably 90 degrees while we're standing onto this thing. So just a little bit more. Awesome. So we can see our heading is 90. So I'm going to go ahead and just walk backwards up the hill. Maybe a little bit back. Cool. We just hit the difference between 10 and 11. What were we doing? We were doing 28 to 29. So let's get the difference between 14 and we'll call that a reasonable approximation. 12, 13, 14. Okay. Actually, we want 14 and a bit, don't we? Cool. So I've unloaded precise plugins accidentally. Precise chords. Okay. So this is what we think would be half of that, but with a significant Z difference involved. So let's play around with that. 14.5-ish. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, Pythagorean's theorem that. Oh, we need the difference, of course. Whoopsie. So we need this minus... Oh, we actually need the origin of what we're talking about, don't we? Cool. Cannot do that without this. Okay, so we're standing on top of it. Great. So let's come on back here. My apologies, I did not actually trim those values up. All right, Excel, you should like that better. Okay, we don't care about that. We perfectly maintained our that. We have this. Okay, so what we can do is say, hey, what is the ratio, the proportion of these? And we get a value that suggests to us that Z value was not taken into account with this, which we knew. We know that this math here is only looking at the x and y coordinates listed in LX and OX, LY and OY. We know it's not paying attention to the Z at all. We can look at the code to see that. But because it corresponds to the amount that we would see in the radar here, it makes me think that it probably is not, that the z-axis is probably not taken into account into this distance either. So when we're standing up here, even though there's a significant z drop, we were only told, oh, it's 14 and a half meters away. We get that corresponding to the, and there is a rise here as well. If I wanted to be really rigorous about this, I would find a flat place like in Brie and redo the same experiment. But the fact that with a minor rise here and a much more major fall over there, we're still getting the same calculation and correlation on the radar. I'm going to say that the radar doesn't consider Z when talking about the distance. And in fact, you can see that if you are in a place like one of the crafting instances for the Ents of Fangorn, I think it is. And yeah, the Ents of Fangorn Forest, one of the crafting instances there is very vertical, the one with the minerals. And you can see those things on your radar. And if you click and hover over them, I think you will see the lateral distance, but not, oh, it's also 100 meters below you. So, Agartha, the radar distance does not seem to care. Oh, hey, a new round has begun. Let's launch one of these things. The radar system does not seem to care. Whether the cave claw cares is possibly unrelated. So the reason I feel like maybe not is that it's easier and faster to do a two-dimensional calculation instead of a three-dimensional. Like, yeah, you can do Pythagorean's theorem in 3 dimensions and get the result you're looking for. You can draw an imaginary sphere around the cave claw, but the game already has systems for telling you how far away you are from something that seem to ignore z-axis. Therefore, I would assume that the developers were, lazy / efficient and used that same system to say, how far away am I from you? How about you? How about you? And just go through all 80 odd dig sites and say, are you within X number of meters from me? If so, I will include you. Elda seems to be in chat. Hello, Elda. Maybe you're just looking textually. Hello. So yeah, that's my thought process. Agartha is they could be doing an imaginary sphere around the cave claw and using that, but I don't think they are. But I don't have any solid evidence on that. So one thing we can do is, if we place this thing just outside our 28-meter range in 2D and keep doing a cave claw until it comes up. Elder says you're welcome. Yay, well, welcome. Yeah, so that's what I would do. Is I would say let's redo the circle as a 28-meter instead of a 30-meter, and let's put it at the edge of this, and that's well outside of the range. Oh, actually, that one is well outside the range. It's 29 meters away in 2D coordinate system. It's well outside 29 if you include the drop, and just keep on doing cave claws from this point until that is the biggest one, and the cave claw goes to it. And if it never does, that would be demonstration that perhaps the axis is taken into account. So, unfortunately, today is the last day of the Treasure Festival, a Buried Treasure event this time, but it does come around multiple times per year. Just out of curiosity, event calendar 2024 LOTRO. So if you go to LOTRO.com, there is a 2024 public event schedule. And if we search for treasure, we can see we're in the tail end of the one happening in April. And then the next one is happening 4 months from now, and another one 3 months after that. So in September, we'll have another most of a week. Oh, that's a treasure boogan. Haha, I should include buried. Cool. So we can see we're getting one in half a year in November. And that one will run for almost a week. Okay, so a lot of the development of this plugin can happen between seasons, because I don't actually need to dig up sites in order to interact with this map saying, yeah, I totally dug up that site. But what I won't be able to do is a lot of testing on something like that. But you know what? I can drop a cave claw here. Thanks, cave claw. Super appreciate that small dig site you found for me. Good job. Okay. So, one thing I've been doing is taking inspiration from RT Plugin. RT Plugin is fantastic. If you, So once you have the distance that correlates to what you're trying to talk about, so this is sort of my distance for 29 meters, somewhere along there, then you can come on in and say, okay, the west part of the map is here, the east is here, the north is there, the south is there. Therefore, the entire map stretches this much of east-west and this much of north-south. And we know how many pixels it is. It's 505 by 663. That's just how I cropped it. It doesn't mean anything. Therefore, each pixel represents 0.002 east-west and 0.002 north-south. And it's really satisfying when they come out the same down to... let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's the 5th decimal point where they're off by where they're off by 1. So the fact that the math comes out that precise means that I feel pretty good about the positioning of things on this map. So if we want the 28 to 29 meter included in that, we know that the radius. Wait, what am I thinking? Okay, yeah, we're multiplying by that amount. What we actually want to multiply is maybe more like this, equals this. Where'd my value go? Okay. Equals this other sheet times... I lost it. Oh, Excel, why do I sometimes struggle with you? Equals this times that. Thank you. And then we go ahead and bring that on over. Cool. I think I'm multiplying by the wrong thing. Y is 0.14. Because I'm supposed to be dividing. Of course. That will cause problems. Great. So we know what we're looking for is something with a diameter of 141 roughly. So let's go ahead and make that happen. So I have something called 30-meter circle. Fantastic. We're actually going to make this into 28, almost 29-meter circle. And what we want to do for that is we're just going to make the size of this 141 by 141. So this is just GNU Image Manipulation Program, or GIMP for short. And we're going to just make this a little bit less large. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and go to the image. We're going to adjust the canvas size to whatever it was I just said, 141. Great. 141 by 141. So we're going to go ahead and resize that, and then we just need to change this layer to the image size and get rid of what was already there. Awesome. Now we're just going to make a circle, and if you go ahead and change the selector from rectangle to ellipse, and then you go ahead and just select the whole thing, then it's super easy to draw a circle in here. Bam. And right now it's at 10% opacity. That's probably fine for our purposes, but we'll go ahead and export it into rich resources, 30-meter circle. We're going to call this the almost 30-meter circle for right now. Yellow. Great. So we have this. We're going to come back into our Galahad Rich, into our resources, and we've got the almost 30-meter circle. Now, these are starting to get badly named. So circle almost 30-meter, yellow. And that's going to be a problem because we have the big circle and the small circle. So we'll call it big circle, almost 30 meters. So big circle, 30-meter. And a big circle, 30-meter yellow. Awesome. So we're going to come back into the code now. And our preview circle, we're going to change the name of that. Okay. Now, the one thing we need to do is figure out where that's being used. And the circle radius, we need to come back in here. And we know that that circle radius was 70.6, but really 70.5. So we need that to be 70.5. Great. Well, let's give it a try. Let's go ahead and unload, load, and draw that circle. Now, how do we know if we got it right? Well, I like using the clipping tool to just go ahead and grab that, then take it into something simple like MS Paint, and then just say, is that the number of pixels I thought it should be? Great. 141 it is. Fantastic. Now, the other thing is we had a I was calling get distance. How do we know about the distance? Yes, that's fine. Awesome. Cool. So radius is being used here. Circle radius. Circle radius. We use that for the size of the image, and when we are moving the thing around, that's the offset. Awesome. Cool. So that's how it's always centered on the arrow. Very cool. Okay, so that was step one, is shrink the circle a little bit to account for the offset of the cave claw and just the game being a little less generous with things than I would like. So for instance, if I drop this cave claw here, we're 11 minutes into this round, so presumably it's going to find something small. It did. Fantastic. Thanks, Cave Claw. Hey, little one. What's up, little cat? Okay, so we have some to-do notes that I just laid down here. Let's actually make a new file for that. New file, to-do.txt. And we're going to move that on over. And now it's not a Lua file, I don't need comments as if it were. Okay. So, what do we want to do? First thing I think we should do is be able to remove one of these circles from the list because we've gone ahead and dug it up. For instance, this dig site right here is no longer here. We should not be taking it into account as if it were. Sorry, I'm just noticing that that circle up there is getting yellowified. Of course, because there was a distance that I wasn't taking into account. W map win parent. Yes, that's flat out 0.15. But we want to go ahead and parameterize that a little bit, at least store it up here. So wmap when parent dot xy cave claw distance equals, and coming back in, we know that was this value. Now, it doesn't have to be this precise, so I'm going to go ahead and round it to, let's say, 14.1429. Okay, so we're going to use that instead of the 0.15. If it's less than w map parent dot cave claw distance. Okay, so with that, we should see that circle only turning yellow up here when we cross the midpoint. Perfect. Or close enough for my purposes. Cool. That being said, let's start with the ability to interact with these circles. Now, as I said, I was getting inspiration from RT Plugin, so let's go take a look at RT Plugin. We're going to go ahead and come into the LOTRO Plugin Compendium, RT Plugin. Nope, RT. I already installed it. Apparently, I forgot about that. Let's come look at that. If you're not familiar with it, RT Plugin is a plugin for helping with roving threats. Why do you need help with roving threats? So, roving threats are a system that's introduced when a server hits the level 100 threshold, which is Western Gondor, the one right after Helm's Deep. At that point, roving threats spawn at various places. We can see Angmar, Avendim, Forkel, Misty Mountains, North Downs, Mirkwood, West Gondor, Central Gondor, East Gondor, The Wastes, Gorgoroth, Northern Mirkwood, and Mordor Besieged. All have roving threats. These are level 100 raid bosses that are just wandering around on the landscape, ready to take out a poor level 40-something swimming around in Avendim. It's very sad. But the mechanic is there's generally about 3 of them per zone that are active at any given time, and they can be found at one of these many places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you're looking for 3 of them at these 10 different locations, knowing that they only change locations 3 a.m. server time, it's very helpful to have a plugin where you can just go ahead and mark, these are the 3. Awesome. So if you're looking for them, you just got to bit back and forth between these 3. They have maybe a 5-minute respawn time. So if you are hunting down roving threats, you mark them on your map when you see them, and then when you are going out with your group to defeat them, you just cycle back and forth between these, ignoring all of the other spots. Awesome. Love it. So the ability to click on these things gives you something that you can do. In this case, clicking on it just changes the color. But if you hold down Control, it also adds an alias to tell people where the next one is, or issue a command to the waypoint plugin. And when you're setting locations, you're sending them to Tell, maybe you're sending them to Fellowship, and that's sort of my default. Maybe a raid if you have enough people for it. So you're setting it to raid, awesome. Now I'm just going to say it to kinship. I wonder if anyone's on right now. No, stop. Stop that. Nope, no one's going to be bothered. Cool. So if I come in here and I hold on control here, we can see the alias is /k, next RT target is blah. And my chat's hidden right now, but that did indeed happen. Cool. That I took inspiration from this with the completion window in the deed tracker, just the ability to send to certain predefined channels, but not necessarily to /world. This one makes no such caution, and also predates the extra 4 user chats, apparently. Awesome. Try not to spam world chat with your roving threat stuff. It will probably get you throttled. Okay, so that's the idea, is these circles, which have been heavily influenced by RT plugin, do not have the ability to click on them or interact with them right now. So what's the easiest thing? The easiest thing is to let us click on them and then just hide them. Like you click on a circle, it goes away. Maybe that's not quite what we want to do. Maybe we want to be able to track something. So we probably need an area down here to select what clicking on a circle means. But let's start with just making it disappear. Okay, so where are these things? These things are a map button. And in the map button, which is a type of button, we do not register for the .click event. And we also may or may not care about mouse stuff. So map button. Okay, so that's all done in here. So if we go ahead and say self.click equals, we're going to go ahead and make an anonymous function, taking sender and args. And right now we're just going to go ahead and turbine.shell.writeLine, and we'll just write out the coordinates that were clicked. Great. So let's go ahead and unload and load. So I've clicked on that. Awesome. Coordinates get clicked out, written out, and we can see that we're clicking on different ones and we're getting different output. That all seems great. Defeated says, any chance we can get an update to Titan Bar to allow us to add delving writs tracking? So delving writs are a thing that appears in the wallet. Therefore, it is something that Titan Bar can track. Due to historical design decisions, adding a currency to Titan Bar is much worse than you would think it otherwise would. It should be much more parameterizable, and it involves creating several new files and changing or changing dozens of files. I don't know, the whole thing is oddly convoluted. And I know there are some people who are interested in making it better. So if we come into Titan Bar, maintained by Duriel, let's come take a look at that. So that's going to be in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins. We can see Habna was the original Titan Bar one. And then, let's see, is it in the README? There is a document that they put in there which describes adding new currencies. I think it's this Titan Bar maintenance. Add a new currency. Fantastic. So this is the section on adding a new currency. And that's all it takes is that. And ideally it should be not that. So it's very doable. It takes a plugin maintainer who knows what they're doing. I would guesstimate 2 to 8 hours to do it and convince themselves they haven't broken anything. And the amount of effort it takes to fix Titan Bar to make it so this isn't the process is enough that I keep having other things that are interesting as well, and then I hear someone else is taking a stab at it, and I don't want to step on their toes. But yeah, it's definitely a known issue. But if it's in the wallet, it should be adding a thing to a list. Like it should be possible to do it unless it is possible to do it unless Titan Bar should be updated to make that possible. So short answer is any plugin developer with a reasonable knowledge of what they're doing should be able to follow these steps and add it to Titan Bar. But the fact that there's all these steps means it's not happening right now. After the treasure event is done, I could be convinced to take another look at it as well, because it's one of those things that I would also like to just be able to in the Titan Bar interface, I would just like to be able to give it the item ID in hex form of the thing I want to be able to track from my wallet, and it just be able to like, here you go. And it can't do that yet. Hey, Thurlor's in chat. Hello. Yes, Titan Bar should be updated. So what I would like to see, and for those who aren't familiar, let's go ahead and pull up Titan Bar. So remember to hit that green circle if you add something while LOTRO is running. And we're going to go ahead and load up Titan Bar. Now Titan Bar has a currency tracker, a wallet. So we're going to go ahead and activate that. And in this, there is a list of things that you can add to the bar. Let's go ahead and say spring leaf. So we're going to go ahead and show that on the toolbar. Great. Due to design decisions that are very old at this point, the thing that is showing right here isn't just a control that was spun up to house this thing. It's a dedicated spring leaf controller, spring leaf handler, spring leaf object that had to be written in order to support this being there. And that's what's going on. That's why this list is incomplete. Ideally, there should be an add box here where you can just put the hex code of the item, if you know what that is, in, or it could search your wallet and try to find something. Thurlor says, Spring Leaf. It's for the Spring Festival. Yeah. So that's what's happening. Is under the covers, it's not easy. But come back next week and say, hey, it's no longer a treasure festival. What's up with the Titan Bar? And I could be convinced to take another stab at that. It's one of those things that should be better, and maybe one day we can make it better. Titan Bar PW. That's funny. So if you do slash Titan Bar space PW, as Egg Arthur mentions in there, it spits out all of the things that you have in your wallet, I think. Maybe all the things that could be in a wallet, but definitely those all look like things that are in my wallet. Let's see. Yeah. And what the... It's spitting out a table key. That's very interesting. Anyway, yeah, that's funny. You may request to add a currency if it's not listed. I have so many of these things that it's actually overflowed my my buffer here. So yes, Agartha says, if you do slash Titan Bar space PW, it says you can request it. Of course, it says send it to Habna, who's not actively maintaining it anymore, but Durio might still be poking in occasionally. So it would be worth going onto the LOTRO interface page for this, if you're not familiar with that. LOTROinterface.com is a great resource for plugins for LOTRO. So if you go over here and you search for Titan Bar and find the Titan Bar that's the most recent, so if we sort by date here, We can see Titan bar by Duriel. We can also see someone's added some fixes. Someone else has had a patch here, but this one here, we can see it was last updated in 2022, so it might be worth coming in here and putting in a post. And hey, someone there has attempted to follow instructions to add new currencies. Fantastic. And they haven't had any response here in a little while, so I don't know how active Duriel is. But that's a place to document these requests. PW print wallet. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, come back and bug me again in a week, and maybe that's something I'll be up to doing. Thurlow says, on your phone, can't see those tiny icons. You thought Springleaf was some new software engineering term. Yeah, I could believe it. I mean, certainly Spring is a big term in Java. Springleaf. It's the new toolkit. Okay, so we're gonna put Titan bar away for now. And yes, so let's go ahead and just click on a ring to get rid of it. So click. So we need two things. We need to be able to get rid of it, and we need to be able to bring it back again when the round is over. So self set visible false. Now, it might be nice to know why we've set ourselves to be false. So self dot is hidden equals false. So we're going to go ahead and say self dot is hidden equals true, and then we need some sort of reset. So function map button reset. What we want to do is go ahead and set the background to white, and set visibility to true. Self set visible to true. And for that, self dot is hidden equals false. Now, why am I doing that? Because I feel like if you call get distance on this thing, we want to say, hey, if self dot is hidden, then return, I don't know, something silly large that we're not going to care about. So the distance to this thing is, let's call it infinite, because it's not going to be included in, is this thing close to me? Oh, math.huge points out Thurlow. Even better. Math.huge. A value larger than any other numeric value. Fair enough. Well, you know what? Let's just do math.huge plus 1 to be really sure. I'm joking. Cool. So if we are hidden, go ahead and return something larger than the 15 that we're comparing to. Otherwise, go ahead and do the actual calculation. So we have the ability to hide ourselves. We have the ability to reset that. We're not calling this yet, but we have the ability to. Okay, let's hide that. Let's hide this. Oh my goodness, there's so much stuff open. You know what, let's minimize that too. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and unload things again and just start with rich. So if I go ahead and click, bam, it's gone. If I click again, nothing happens. Perfect. Now I am curious, is it actually receiving that well hidden? And I think the answer is no. But let's go ahead. Turbine.shell.writeLine. Clicked. And I'm not going to bother putting out the coordinates. Okay, so if we click that, it says clicked. If we click that space again, it does not. So it must be visible in order to be clicked. Now, it could be transparent, but it must be visible. Is what it looks like. Okay, so done. We need a reset function. So right now, when the round resets, we want everything to come back. Where does that happen? Okay, not sure, but I know there's something in strings waiting for new round. Okay. So let's figure out where that's used. Okay, in timer, we have waiting for new round. Otherwise, okay, is that it? Okay, so round active. We know if a round is active because the thing called round active is true. Okay, Hey, and the new round just happened. You know what? I'm going to come on over here and see if I can't get my large cache that I would very much like to have. Cave claw, cave claw. Yay, a huge dig site. I've gotten 2 out of the 3 treasure mounts so many times. Really? Nope, I got nothing in that. That actually was from something else. I got 16 buried treasure tokens. That is so frustrating. Sounds like a cave claw until I get it. Alright, we're going to go ahead and lay down another one here. This is a very efficient spot. You get a lot of potential places to get. Okay, large was the biggest one. That's fine. Now, the funny thing is there could be 2 larges in the area, although statistically unlikely. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and release another cave claw in this exact same position. In fact, we'll go ahead and include that other one. And we know it shouldn't be huge, but it could be large or less. Medium. Well, that's fair. Okay, so where am I? I'm right there. Get rid of it. Where was the other one? That one's still there. That was that one. Okay, so we can see that setting off cave claws in this area is getting progressively less efficient. But we could still do one, and we should expect to see medium or less because we didn't see a huge and we didn't see a large. It's a medium. Awesome. And we'll get rid of it. So we should expect that if we did that again, we should see a medium or less. That it can't be a large or a huge. Why not? That's why I have 85 of these things. 88 of these things. And we're down to small. So we know everything that was left in that circle where I was must be small. Which means unless they're specifically looking for something that is in a small, you should stop doing this. Okay. Very cool. So, getting these things back. When the current round resets, how do we know that? Set start round. Round active equals 2. Great. What's up with this thing? How does it know where that label is? Is that a global? That's a global, isn't it? Yeah, it's a global. Okay, that's fine. So what we want to do is we want to tell the map when the round resets. So let's go ahead and make a function for that. Now currently the map when is not done in an object-oriented fashion. I would like it to, but for now, map when round reset. So we're going to go ahead and call this function from our timer when the round resets. So set start round. Now, I almost want to reset it at the end when a round ends as well. But I think I'll leave it because for those 5 or 6 seconds, maybe that's useful to be able to see what all was dug up or something. So restore any hidden or marked dig sites. Okay, so we've got our map when round reset, and for that we want to go ahead and iterate through each of these dig sites. Yeah, we have a sample for iterating through that. And we want to go ahead and tell them to reset. And that was going to be just called reset. Awesome. Value reset. Now, it would be nice to have a way to trigger this ourselves. And that's easy enough. Let's go ahead into the main window. We have a map, button map, and then button reset equals turbine.ui.lotro.button. And we're going to go ahead and say that set parent. You got to have a parent that's visible or you won't be visible. And button reset set width, sure, it can be 50, whatever, it's a small text. Button reset set position, don't really care because this is so for debug. In fact, we should mark that. For debug only, delete this. Cool. And then button reset set text reset. Cool, the only thing we need then is a click handler, which we're going to go ahead and move that one back up. And a debug reset button. Cool. Button reset dot click equals an anonymous function with sender args, and we're going to just say reset. Fantastic. So let's take a look at that. We're going to go ahead and unload rich. We're going to go ahead and load rich. And then we have a button called reset. So I've removed some stuff. Click reset. They come back. Awesome. Thriller says, is that the circle icon from RT plugin? I did just borrow that. I may do something a little bit more dig site specific. Maybe get a view of that, a little splotch to put on here. But for testing purposes, this circle is just so nice and so easy to recolor that I have borrowed that. And even in the map button, you can see inspired by map button Lua in RT plugin. So yeah, well spotted. It is very heavily influenced my design choices for how I want this to look and feel. Yeah, Thriller, it says it's a good icon. Yeah, it is. One might call it iconic. I was actually trying to find in one of the skinning files the symbol, this yellow thing right here, because that would have been great. I'd be happy to use that. But I have not actually found the image ID for that yet. And so I think it'll be pretty easy using the Resource Explorer, because if this were like 100% size instead of 140, like that thing's got to be, I don't know, 16 or 28, a very specific resolution. So I think I can find it, but I haven't done the search for it yet. But it definitely didn't show up in one of the skinning files with an obvious name, which makes sense. I don't think you're really reskinning how the radar works in a skinning file, so it's just not maybe referenced in there. Okay, we have the ability to remove these things. Now, I'm concerned with removing them because it is kind of nice to know where they were. So I'm tempted to say, instead of removing them, that they should be... Maybe we should change their opacity. And I can't remember if you can change the opacity on controls or if it has to be a window. Whoopsie. But I think I wanna play around with that. So instead of setting visible to false, what I want to do is set opacity to, I don't know, 0.5. Is that a reasonable value for set opacity? Don't actually know. Let's go check out the documentation. So we're going to go to UI control and look at opacity. So it's the current opacity of the window. Valid values are between 0 and 1, with 0 being fully transparent and 1 being fully opaque. Cool. Special property is only valid for certain controls. Specifically, Windows will make use of opacity. Awesome. So, might not be something we can do here, but we're going to give it a try. So, we're going to set opacity to 0.5. And then in reset, we're going to set opacity to 1. Now, if we can have opacity, we should probably have an alpha blending setting. Yeah, that's not helpful. So let's come on in. Oh, we do have a self-set blend mode. Cool. All right. if we can't be opaque, we can just load an image that is opaque instead. So if we come back in here and open circle white, then we want to go ahead and set that thing's opacity to, I don't know, 25% maybe? Let's set it to 25%. Go ahead and export that into our resources. And we have circle white 25%. Can you use percents in a file name? Maybe. Awesome. So let's go ahead and load that in and see what we feel about that. So images are stored in global here. So big site, white, 50, opaque, 50. Equals resource dir, that thing. Okay, so let's play around with that. So instead of setting ourselves to opaque, let's just go ahead and set background to that thing instead. So images, that thing. Cool. And then resetting ourselves would be this here. So in the reset function, we're already setting the background to white, so visible and opacity are no longer needed. Let's play around with that. Okay, so click on a thing and it goes, ooh, I like that. Oh, that's nifty. Now that means we actually should still be getting that click handler. I've deleted the little, yeah, okay, we'll write it up again. Turbine.shell.writeline, and clicked, and we'll go ahead and include the chords. All right. So click those. We can see the clicks there, but that means there still can be clicked, which means if we accidentally clicked something, maybe we toggle it back. Thirlor points out that RT plugin applies different colors to the circle icon with blend mode. It's probably a better idea than rendering out a bunch of different ones. Blend mode color. Oh. Set back color and set color blend mode. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna yoink that for playing around with later. Awesome. Thanks, Thurlor. I was having so much fun making this map work to some degree that I kind of paused on how much I was lifting from RT's for inspiration and just like, okay, I got circles on the map. What can I do now? But yes, changing colors with a blend mode color mode sounds very interesting. It's not something I've played around with yet. Okay, so in the map button though, if we click, now we can undo this. If self.is hidden, then unhide. Else end. So self.is hidden equals false, and self set background, and we'll use this. Else, we're going to go ahead and say is hidden equals true and set that to this, and we'll go ahead and keep that debug statement just for later. Okay, so that means we can click on one of these and bring it back. So if you accidentally clicked it for some reason, it's fine, bring it back. Okay, so that is progress for the I got rid of one of these. Now, saving out the state of these things in case you unload the plugin and reload it back in could be very nice. Now, I'm seeing that plugin, or that circle, did something strange. Okay, so if it's hidden, return huge. Let's see where the set inside is being called. Oh, of course. If not self dot is hidden, then if not self dot is hidden, then so let's not include hidden circles when we're doing this. So we're going to go ahead and unload. We're going to go ahead and load. Cool. So if we get rid of that one, it is no longer being included in that. Awesome. I really like that view for the dig sites because obviously they're still there, and so you can still use your knowledge of where things are in relation to each other. Stupid tree. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a k-plow here. Surely there's a huge one somewhere. Okay, and then reset brings them all back. Awesome. Cool. So we have the ability to mark a single one as gone. And that was definitely on the to-do list, is mark a specific dig site. No. Well, the specific value is it's gone. Be able to remove circles that are missing. So, done. Reset all of this when the round ends. Done. Although we haven't tested that because we keep waiting for a new round. That's fine. So, for those of you who don't know, if you have access to a wardrobe in the game, different colors from the same piece of equipment can be applied into your wardrobe. So this is a Bear Treasure Hunters pack, and this is one with the forest green cosmetic. So if we take a look at the Treasure Hunters pack, I have a bunch of different colors, but I'm not sure I have a bear one. So Treasure Hunters pack, I now have default. Awesome. And forest green, I already had that. So that one, if I drag that in there, it's already in your wardrobe. But now, I can just sell those things, because I do not need the actual thing. And it's bound to account. Thurlow says, I wonder if the pattern of treasure location repeats. SSG seems strangely averse to using RNG in a lot of cases. That's a really interesting question, because you could definitely have a pattern for the huge chest being in each one of these locations once. You know, they could generate 80 different patterns. And they could just generate, 8 different locations where the huge appears in each one of these spots once. And then if a huge is in a specific spot, that means all the larges are in these spots, all the mediums are in these spots, and all the rest are smalls. You could do that. I don't know. Because there's such a large number of spots, my first instinct would be that would be more pain than it's worth to generate them, especially if you have any sense of wanting fairness. Like, oh, you shouldn't have one spot always be a large. So you have to manually kind of inspect for that. It almost would feel like more work to generate those 80 predefined spots than it would just be to say, hey, every time you redo this, pick one of the spots, that's your huge, pick 5 more spots, that's your larges, pick 10 more spots, that's your mediums, and the rest are smalls, or whatever the distribution actually is. Now, if you had a dedicated server, you could actually use enough dowsing gems to find where the huge is and say, no one take this, and then mine out the rest of the field, either actually mining it or using dowsing gems to identify what everything is on the map. And with a lower population server, or especially if you were in a layer and everyone else has left the layer and you're the only one keeping it alive, you could go in and personally like map out all of these, just making sure not to do the huge so it doesn't reset everything. So I think it would be possible to kind of get a sense of what's going on with the distribution of things, definitely how many smalls, medium, larges, and huges there are. We know there's at least one huge. I don't know if we actually know that there isn't 3 huges. There's 80 or so, 81 dig sites that I've found so far. It could be a very reasonable thing for them to just say, 5 of these are huges, and you're never going to know because you can't, you're unlikely to find 2 huges in the same round. The amount of time it would take, to get from one to the other is too much. So we don't necessarily know for sure how many of each type there are. It's reasonable to say there's only one huge, but it'd be fine for them to say that, there's 3 of them. Go nuts. Good luck. Yeah. Thorlor says, just get 81 people together and log every dig site for a few hours. That is absolutely a thing that could be done, assuming you can squeeze 81 of them onto the same layer and not crash the server. Anyway, yeah, so I do not have a sense of how random it is, but what I have seen is a certain clumpiness that I feel like you would see in randomness. So for instance, I have had sessions where I have stood on this little corner here and sent out a cave claw, and 2 or 3 times in a row, there has been a huge chest in the radius. And I feel if someone, humans are pretty bad at emulating randomness, and I feel like if humans had predetermined like a cycle of 81 treasures that we go through, they would tend away for that kind of thing. They'd be like, oh no, it was just there, it can't be there again. Even though randomly, you do 100 of these, you'd kind of assume 3 or 4 of them are going to end up like really close to each other. Just, the way the math works out. So I guess the clumpiness that I've seen makes me think maybe. Laura says, good point. Maybe. I've spent a fair amount of time in the treasure, but I haven't in the buried treasure event, but I haven't logged exactly where I found the huge one. And that's the thing that we could do now with this integrated map is you could actually say, I found the huge, it was here. Like Rich is tracking your stats as what you found, but it hasn't tracked where you found them. So, you could definitely have an integration thing where you hover over it and it says 90% of the time you've dug here, it's been small, right? Over, 90% of the time over 300 digs, it was small, or 300 identifications, it was small. You could do that once you start integrating, knowing where these things are. That's in the future, though. Okay, so we have the ability to toggle these circles on and off. Great. What else can we do in the limited time we have left tonight? Something I really want to do, is remember where on Earth I've spent my precious cave claws. So I want to be able to say, hey, this circle right here, plop it down there, don't let it go away until the end of the round, and also color each of the things there to a certain level. But let's get started with the easier part, which is placing a button that says, I just did a cave claw, and I want to drop one of these circles here so I remember exactly which one of these sites were involved with that cave claw. Mentally, I can do the rest. Like if I dropped a cave claw, I either found the huge or I didn't. And one of the big things, especially on a lower population server like Treebeard, that can happen is you can have a round last 30 or 40 minutes because it's not, you don't have a lot of other people participating. Whereas on a more populated server, if there's 20 or 30 people running around on your layer, even if you don't get the huge chest, it's really likely that someone's going to get it in the first couple of minutes because there's going to be cave claws all over. And like in the first 20 seconds, 75% of these dig sites are going to be covered by someone's cave claw. So if a huge is there, it's going to be really fast. And so on Treebeard, where just a couple of people, a round can languish. And I really want to remember where I have looked in this round. So that's my motivation for wanting to be able to drop these circles. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need space below this map for a cave claw area. I don't know what that's going to look like, but let's start by making the map win taller. So in the map win, in the constructor, or in the function that's acting like a constructor, we know the heights for the image, and so we can make the window bigger than that. So what we want to do is have a local cave claw controls height equals, and let's just say we're going to give ourselves 50 pixels for this. So the height is going to be the map height plus the window top border, the window bottom border, plus the cave claw controls height. Awesome. So just seeing that, we can see we now have an area for cave claw controls. Great. So, Laura, it's been a long, long time since I took a test like the SAT. I was listening to a video by, must have been some British YouTuber. Maybe a Tom Scott or a Matt Parker or someone like that. But I can't remember who. But they were pronouncing it SAT. They were saying it as a word instead of as an acronym, SAT. Well, really an initialism at that point, SAT. And it just stood out to me as so peculiar. And I don't know if this is a regional thing. Like, I was doing this in southern Michigan, and maybe if you grew up in Wyoming or something, you called it SAT test instead of SAT. But it pulled me out of the video so abruptly. Like, someone just slammed on the brakes, and I was like, the what? The SAT? And so I'm curious if anyone wants to chime in. If you took the SAT or the SAT test in the United States, which did you call it, SAT or SAT? Because that seemed so unfamiliar to me. Like, it was like, where did that come from? Thorobus says SAT. Yeah. Agatha says, my mom used to pronounce URL as Earl. I could go back and forth on that. I could see that. Earl, because it could be Earl, the name, I don't think I would use that in a professional term, but if I was, kind of joking and saying Earl, I guess I could see that. I've known people to pronounce SQL as squeal, which never seemed quite right to me. Elda says, I always grew up with SAT. Growth says, I hear it more commonly as sequel. Yeah, sequel, yeah, definitely. But if you're making up letters to put in between S and Q and L, why not make it squeal, right? Like, one makes as much sense as the other. And yet. Okay, so we need some buttons down here in this area. So we want a cave claw control that we can draw down there. And it might be nice to go ahead and just have an actual control. So local cave claw controls equals turbine.ui.control. And we're going to go ahead and set this up. And just to make sure I'm putting it in the right place and not doing something weird with it, one thing I like to do, after I parent it, cave claw controls set parent to map control, map one parent. After we do that is we're going to go ahead and set the background. So cave claw controls set back color to something, turbine.ui.color.blue. Blue violet, why not? That sounds pretty. And we're going to go ahead and cave claw controls set size. We want that to be basically the size of the window itself, but we don't need that left border or right border area. We want to leave a little gap there. So we know it's as wide as the map width. That's fine. And height-wise, we know it was 50. And the other thing we want to do is set the position. So cave claw controls, set position. We know we want it to be over this that border. So border, window left border, and down, we need it to be down window top border. Window top border plus the however many pixels we have for this map, which is going to be map height. Okay, so that'll give us hopefully the right position, but by coloring the background to a very obvious color, that thing, it'll hopefully give us a sense that something is wrong right away if it's in the wrong position. That actually looks pretty good. Cool, so that's the area in which we're going to draw our cave claw controls. Arthur says, like the old unfortunate Intel has ways to make you scream ad campaign, Oracle has ways to make you squeal. I like it. Okay, so we have an area, we can see it's in the right position. So what we want to go ahead and do, nix that background color, and start adding things to this cave claw control. So the first thing we just need to do is a button that drops a circle. That's the most basic thing. So local cave claw activated button equals turbine.ui.window.control. No, sorry, LOTRO.control. Button. You're not going to find a control in the LOTRO namespace. Okay. So, cave claw activated button. I'm just going to copy that for easier setup here. We want to set that parent, but we're going to set the parent to the cave claw controls. And that means its position is going to be relative to the cave claw controls. We don't have to do all that math to figure out where it goes in the greater window. We're positioning it within just this sub-control. So set size. Actually, for buttons, I'm not sure we need to do much from the default. So let's set position. Excuse me. We're going to set that position. Actually, 0, 0 is kind of fine for right now as well. So we're going to come back to that. Cave claw activate set text. Cave claw launched. Cave claw deployed. And is there a hyphen? There is. Cave claw deployed at latest /LOC. That's probably too long. Thanks, Zelda. I'm distracted. Okay, so we're just gonna create a button and see how big it needs to be. Okay, okay, the default button size too small, especially for this ridiculously large text. I think what I want to do. Whoa. Deploy cave claw. We're going to go ahead and just simplify that down, but we do need to go ahead and cave claw control activated button, set width, and let's do something larger like 75. Also, position wise, I think we want it to be a little bit lower down. So let's go ahead and set the position to 0, 5. Just give it a little border away from there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and see that 75 still isn't big enough. Let's bump it up to 125. And okay, that's just big enough. Cool. And we need a click handler. So we want the caveclaw.click equals to an anonymous function with sender and args. In this click handler, we want to go ahead and what do we want? We need a table of circles that has been dropped because we need to go through and clear them later. Where do we want this? We already have the map is storing those dig sites. The map could also have storage for cave claw circles. So let's go ahead and map.caveclaws equals this. Oscar says, isn't this a Christmas event? The buried treasure event happens periodically throughout the year. It may have been that it coincided with Yule at some point. Or maybe you're thrown off by the music. I'm not sure. But this year, it's happening both in April and I think we saw earlier in the stream also in November. So it does not need to be a Christmas or Yule event, though perhaps it has coincided in the past. Apparently, I forgot to get all my berries for the cave claw. That's okay. I'll just get those occasionally. Okay, so we have map.caveclaws is a table that we're going to store our circles in. And for that, on the click handler for the cave claw activated, we want to make a circle. And it's going to be very similar to the circle we're using more generally for every time we do a /LOC. So let's take a look at what that is, which is this. So it's the preview circle. So we're going to go ahead and copy that in and start changing it. So instead of preview circle, we're going to name it cave claw circle, just to start with that. And where are we saving this? We're saving it in map.caveclaws. So table.add, insert map.caveclaws, and we're going to insert that. Okay, so we can keep track of it that way. We're going to set the parent to map. Great. We're going to set the radius down. Set the background. Right now it's just going to be preview circle. That's fine. And set visible false. Nope, we want to set that to true because we need that to be there. Set mouse visible to false. That's great. Alpha blend. That's great. So we've gone ahead and made this thing. We've inserted it into the list of cave claws that we'll then need to iterate through, hide, destroy when we do this reset, but that's not a problem right now. And what else do we need? Oh, we should probably turn off the preview circle when we do this. So we're actually going to yeah, okay. So set visible to false so that we don't have the two circles overlapping. Oscar says, yeah, I only play this around Christmas, so I just thought it's a Christmas thing. Fortunately not. There's so much going on during Yule time, and on the server that I play on mostly, Treebeard, that's usually about the time of year that a new piece of content has hit the server. So there's so much going on during Yule, I do not need yet another thing to distract me. But yeah, totally, very much could have happened. In fact, the good people who edit the LOTRO wiki might very well have tracked that in the past. So, just go see. Awesome. So we can see in November. We can see in 2014 it was mid-December. Might have been some Januaries. Nope, I don't see any Januaries. So these, assuming they are correct, these are the dates that we would have had buried treasure. Might not be exhaustive. There could have been some that didn't make it into this table. But given that we're seeing about 2 per year going back until 2017, and then one-ish or intermittent, I'm guessing this is pretty thorough. I was just curious if Eldeth has been editing this page. Not that I see. Okay. So, yeah, definitely several of these are happening at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. That's what it says. You might just have bad memory. You know, if you could remember everything to happen in LOTRO, that would be very impressive. Oh, hey, berries. No worries. And sometimes we just get things lodged in our heads where I always associate this thing with this other thing. That's just a normal way human brains work. Okay, so we've gone ahead and said we're going to set that preview circle unvisible. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like, knowing that we're not complete yet, but we've made some progress. Okay, so if I dropped down a cave claw circle there, hey look, it's not in the right position, but it does exist. And the more I drop, the more solid that gets. That's fantastic. Okay, did we forget to move this thing? We might have. Okay, cave claw, set parent, set size. We did not set a... Oh, right, because, of course, where we put it would have been controlled by a different function. Okay, so... Move map point. Where does that happen? Handle standard chat messages. Great. So first of all, that should be in there. Okay, so last known position. Awesome. So we're going to go take a look at this. Okay, so we have the last known positions. So we need to go ahead and get the pixels from that. And we need to go ahead and cave claw circle, set position, and we need these pixels, but we need x minus the circle radius, and pixels.y minus the circle radius as well, because we start drawing from the upper left of the image. Oh, hey, the berries are back. Or I never got them. Well, I'm at 4, so... Okay, so if we go ahead and deploy the cave claw, we get that circle. Awesome. Now, that circle's a little light. Deploy the cave claw. I'd say... It's a little light, but I'm curious what that will look like with other colors. And as Thurler mentioned before they left, we could do some of this with the blend color, but I do have some of these pre-rendered already, or if not, I can render them out really fast. So, I'm going to go turn on these berries while I think about this. I mean, the circle's very visible. If I were to drop that right there, it's less visible on this grassy area. It's very visible on the snow in the mountain. Hey, cave claw, have some berries. Hey, other guy. Let's go ahead and... Okay, so... making them opaque ahead of time means we don't have to worry about these being windows. But if they were windows, then we could eventually have the user set the opacity. And we could do the opacity in-game. But I think for today that might be overkill. So what we want to do is we want to come back into this circle and go ahead and bump that up to 25 and export that. So we're going to go ahead and just keep on polluting this folder with new files. It's great. So our resources, that's going to be the almost 30 meter circle. Oh, but we should rename that. Big circle, almost 30 meter, yellow opacity 25. Perfect. Naming things is terrible. And we're going to go ahead and cave claw circle equals resource dir that. Okay. So, we could play around with the color blending right now. Let's go ahead and export this as white. And again, fix the name because I forgot to. So, big circle, almost 30 meter, white opacity. Okay, so if we have this, let's start with the white. And we're going to use cave claw circle instead of preview circle. Naming them two different things means we can modify them both independently with no real issues. Okay, so we have set the background. We're going to do the cave claw circle. Oh, and the new round began. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and come on down here and start. And we'll go ahead and deploy that cave claw circle. We will not. Why did we not? Failed to load background image. Yeah, it's because I just misspelled it. Unfortunately, I didn't actually pay attention to what it found. It was a large. Well, that's fun. That's cool. So I know that everything in there was large or smaller. So let's come on over to here and go ahead and do another one. And we're going to go ahead and deploy that cave claw. All right, that was a medium. So what I would kind of like to do is color all of those a specific color, but it's not the biggest problem in the world. So that was a very weak reading. I'm just going to go ahead and disable that. Defeated says, what's the rich icon look like? I cannot find mine, but it says it's loaded. You know, it might not actually have an icon, but there is a command to open it up. So if you do /show rich, all one word, that'll open up the window. I don't remember if it has little icons. Sometimes they don't. And unfortunately, /rich is already an emote in game. It's the one that looks like this. You throw coins up in the air. Winnable at this very event. And so, despite it being named rich, the command to show it isn't /rich, it's /show rich. So give that a try. It should open this main window right up. Okay. Nope, and Agartha confirms it doesn't have an icon. Thank you, Edgar Arthur. Okay, so we're going to come on over here and see if we can't get everything in that circle. And we'll go ahead and deploy that. Found a small dig site. Fantastic. Now we missed this site right over here. That's why they invented dowsing gems. So we're going to go ahead and douse that. Very weak reading, so disable it. Awesome. So this is how I envision using this plugin, is letting it record where I've been for me. So deploy Cave Claw. This is a large, awesome. So we know anything else in here could be large, but also we know that we missed these two back here. So we're going to come back here. That's a slight reading. That's also known as a medium. And that one. Okay, and that's very weak. You know what? I'll go ahead and dig up. Who am I to look a non-small in the mouth? Okay, so where's another really dense area that we could go looking with our cave claw? Well, I love this area to the south. It's got so many dig sites so close to each other that, again, if it's a straight even chance, 1 in whatever 81 chance of each one of them being the huge chest, then this area is a really good one for it. So let's back up a little bit. Well, we could get 2 more if we come on over here, maybe. There we go. Let's go ahead and send that out and deploy that cave claw here. It's a medium. So now I know I'm just going to ignore everything else in that circle because it's not worth it. Okay, is this enough to justify a cave claw? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it's got to have at least 5, well, at least 6, because otherwise you could just spend 5 dowsing gems for the same cost as 1 cave claw. So if you're not analyzing at least 6 of these sites, you should just be using dowsing gems at that point. It takes longer, takes more time, but you save it on the treasure tokens. So unless you have more treasure tokens than you know what to do with, which I technically do, I am a fool. I didn't drop my cave claw circle. Wait, I didn't change my /LOC, so it just uses that last /LOC, so everything's good. Yeah, so yeah, if unless you're willing to take the token trade-off, it's better to use dowsing gems unless you can hit at least 6 of these. So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's pretty good. Could we get that last one over there? We can. Let's go ahead and launch from here. Awesome. Small dig site, so I'm not going to bother digging it. Pickaxes are precious. But, oops, not that one. So I'm so glad we added that undo feature. So we do want to go ahead and dowsing gem this one. Very weak reading. And then, you know, we have scanned through more than half of the dots out here. In fact, I really want a reading of like how many dig sites have we looked at. But over here in this corner, we can see we can just get 5 of them. Sure, it's even at that point. Why not? That's a small dig site, so we're just going to go ahead and say no. Wait, where was it? Oh, no. It wasn't that one. It was that one. Okay, so we've got 2 more dig sites. Let's go ahead and douse those. Slate reading. All right. Oh, Defeated says that worked. You're awesome. Glad to hear it. And we'll go ahead and dowsing gem this. Now I saw someone else running around in here, so we might have some competition. But unless I've seriously misunderstood how things work in here, we can say that we've eliminated everything on the north end of the field. So I'm going to go check out these 2 spots down here with some dowsing gems. And this is the part where I'm just over the moon with this, because so often I've been down to like what feels like the last couple of sites, and I just cannot remember what I've looked at. And just the fact that this is already working, if not 100% what I had envisioned, just meaning making so I don't have to worry about which ones have I looked at. It's saving that memory for me. I love it. Very weak reading. Well, that's a very no from me. Okay, moving on. At this point, there's only like 6 more left, so we're gonna find out if I've seriously misunderstood something. And in fact, you know what? I can go ahead and there we go. Let's go ahead and send out one of those. It's a medium. So by the way, when you send out a cave claw, I highly recommend just clicking it and clicking follow instead of like actually trying to manually run after it. It'll definitely save you some grief. It's a slight reading. All right. So what I want to do is make sure that these circles, when they go down, are coloring things, because anything that's on the edge is definitely a maybe as far as the range of the cave claw. And this is, again, working on the assumption that the cave claw has the extended range. Because, like I've said, I've seen a cave claw hone in on the one that is right here from all the way over here, and that's well over 20. But it might be the actual number is more like 25 or 28, and so some of these things I've eliminated here maybe didn't deserve to be eliminated. Maybe this second one over on the edge here is really was out when I thought it was in. So let's go ahead and do that. Very weak reading. Nope, it's not that. So that's where we're at, is we need to do some fine-tuning to make sure the circles we're drawing actually correspond to the range that the cave claw has. What would be kind of maddening is if there's a randomness to it. If depending on the cave claw, you get somewhere between 20 and 30 meters of range. That would be very frustrating. Oh, hey. Oh no, my quests are not cooled down yet. So that's the thing that I still need to do some extensive testing on at the next treasure event, is what's going on with the range of the cave claws. Is it actually 20 and sometimes it just goofs? Is it a random amount between 20 and whatever, in which case you kind of just have to take the lowest value and run with it. Now we do have this problem here where we see, in theory, every spot has been analyzed by us, but if those circles are a little bit too big, then anything that's on the edge like this maybe didn't get caught. Hey, it's a very strong reading. So yes, we can demonstrate just from that our circle is a bit too big. Okay, so we want to check the reset now. Reset is going to reset all of those dots, but it's not going to get rid of these circles. So after the round is reset here, we're going to go ahead and reload the plugin ourselves. And that'll let us try this out again. So we want to do the same thing, but we want to be a little bit more generous. Make sure the circles are completely in before counting them as good. Okay, that was a medium one. Don't forget to deploy. So we're gonna do this again. We're just gonna be a little less skimpy on the margin. As long as the circle is completely in this radius, I'm gonna think it's probably going to be part of the included space. Okay, what are we doing down here? I really love this area here. Okay, we're going to deploy here. Hey, it's a huge dig site. Fantastic. Just being able to visualize where all these are really, I feel like, helps me maximize my cave claws. All right, please, please, please. Treasure-laden goat. You know what I don't need in my life? Is another treasure-laden goat. That's okay. Okay, So same thing. We want to go ahead and isolate as many of these circles as we can. So here's a great one. It's a large, that's great. I could keep digging in that area. There could still be larges. But again, I like to get the most bang for my buck that I can out of these cave claws. So instead, we're going to come on over. Again, this area to the southwest just feels so full of dig sites. And if it's a straight even chance of a huge showing up in any of these, then that sounds like the right place to search for me. It could be that the more there are in an area, the lower chance there is of any one of them being the huge. But again, that takes a lot of effort. That I don't know if we should assume that that's the case without lots of testing. Nope, 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 nope. Accidentally clicked on something. Okay, where else can we go? In fact, I wasn't actually deleting the ones that I dug up. That's okay. Okay, that one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's fine. So we'll deploy there. Well, it went a really long way to get that small. That's disappointing. Okay, I'm really happy with how this is working so far, but I need those circles to clear when a round ends. So that's going to be the next thing that we're working on here. You know, it's like a gambling thing. It's like just one more, just one more. Now, one of those is already overlapping. I'm not convinced I can get that last circle and not be too far away from some of these. So that's okay. We'll just go ahead and deploy that here. Okay, that's a large dig site. Great. That was that one. Okay, I'm like the only one here. I could have the next huge. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we need to clear these circles. What's that going to look like? We're going to come on in to map win. We already have a reset function. And for this, we need to iterate through each of the items in the other map.cave clause. We need to iterate through that as well. And for each one of these, we know this is a control. So we need to go ahead and say value set visible to false. And that's kind of the minimum, but we also would like to go ahead and say, once that's done, we can reset this table, and that can let the garbage collector go and pick those up again. You know what? We might actually set the parent to nil as well. And from there, bye-bye, stuff I've already done. If we go ahead and drop... Oh, we hadn't actually done an out. Oh my goodness. Okay, so... We should pay attention to that. If map.coords... Is that what it is? Pixels. Let's do that first. If this, what is the default value of that? If not that, then return. End. Cool, we can't deploy without having these circles. So if we go ahead and start deploying these things, oops. Cool, and then hit the reset button, we can see they go away. And that was the main thing we wanted to do there. Okay, what else do we have? We have You know what? Placing the circle, I'd like to be able to affect the last placed circle. And so what I want to do is have, well, actually, we're inserting these with table.insert. So we can just use the number of items in the table to refer to the last one. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and add some more buttons. We need more of those. So local cave claw value can never remember what the names of these things. Well, I know legendary and incomparable and rare and common. But let's come on into a spreadsheet that I've got for tracking traceries. Uncommon, rare, incomparable, legendary. Cool. Okay. So cave claw value uncommon equals turbine.ui.lotro.button. And we also want to have one of each of those for each of the rarities. Now, this is where having a table of these, or, it might be useful not to have 4 separate ones, but just have a loop that creates all 4 of them. We're going to play around with that in a little bit here. But first, let's get a sense of what the names would be and what it looks like to initialize one of them, and then probably put this in a loop. So it'll be cave claw values instead of a value. Okay, so we're making this, and this is the uncommon one. So that set parent equals cave claw controls. And then we just need to set the text, set text to uncommon. And we want to set these the width to something reasonable. Let's call it 75 to start. And the only other thing we need is a location. So cave claw set position. We know we are down by 0, but the first one's got to be over by 5 plus cave claw activated buttons width. Get width plus another 5 for spacing, let's call it. Okay, and then we need a click handler. So that dot click equals the anonymous function. Someone's setting me on fire. I guess they're hidden. Anonymous function, and you know what? We're just going to do turbine.shell.writeLine click. Unload, load. We don't see it. Why don't we see it? Set parent cave claw controls, set text, set the width, set the position. Wow, yeah, it is so far too far down because that was supposed to be the width plus some things over in the X position. Okay, we have uncommon. If you click it, we get click. So that's working. 75 is a bit too small for it. Let's go ahead and do 100. And what I would like to do is change the color of the last deployed thing. So we deploy that. What I want to do is uncommon changes the color of that. So what we want to do is have a different color background, or we could do, let's get the thing we're talking about. So local cave claw button circle equals, and we want this from map cave claws. And we want the last entry in there. And there might be actually a shortcut way of saying that. Last entry in table. It may be that pound map is the last one. Yellow. No, yeah, uncommon. Yeah, yellow. Oh, I've done the wrong thing anyway. No, I think that's going to give the length of it. So that is going to be an integer. So we just index this by that. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what that does. So we deploy the cave claw, and then we click uncommon. Hey, that did something. But if we do color, okay, well, I don't understand how color blending works, but that's okay. We don't actually need it because we only have 4 circles to talk about. So instead of setting the back color, what we want to do is set the background image to cave claw circle something. So what we want to do is grab that yellow value, and we're still at 25%, so we're going to go ahead and export this to cave claw. What did we call it? Cave claw circle. Big circle almost started me at white opacity 25. Fantastic. I'm going to have to rename all of these things, but that's okay. Big circle, white opacity 20. Oh yeah, we already have a yellow opacity 25. Great. So let's go ahead and do a couple others while we're at it. So that's the whatever we're calling it. We'll call it purple for right now. We also need cyan. And the last one is sort of an orangey color. Okay, so those are roughly the colors that we're talking about. So what we want is cave claw circle uncommon, cave claw circle rare, I think, incomparable, and cave claw circle legendary. Yeah, okay. And with those, we can go ahead and swap out uncommon is yellow, rare is purple, incomparable is cyan, and legendary is orange. Okay, cool. So we want to go ahead and do that as uncommon. So let's take a look at that. So if we go ahead and deploy our cave claw there, and we're coming on over here, and we go ahead and say, oh, that was actually uncommon, it fails to load an image. Fantastic. What did I do? Well, certainly part of the problem is I have misspelled these things. Circle, 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 and circle. I had missed an R in many of those circles, which will certainly break a plugin. Okay, so we've got that. We've deployed a cave claw. We're off on here. Oh, the cave claw came back uncommon. Awesome. So what we'd like to do is then have one of these buttons for each of these values. So what we'll actually want is local values equals, and we'll call that uncommon Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to line up the text that should be displayed, and this will eventually be a localized version of this. And the thing that we're going to use to distinguish this, we're going to use it for images, and we'll use might use it in the variable name itself. Well, it'll be a reference to the table. So what we want is that rare. Whoops, rare. In fact, we don't actually. Yeah, the localized version can't be used to look this up, so that's fine. Okay, incomparable, inconceivable, incomparable. And legendary. Okay, so we have this, and so what we can do is we can say for key value in values do end, and that means key is going to be each of these on the left, and value is going to be each of these on the right. Except I do need to say pairs. Oh, you know, that's not going to work. Of course that's not going to work. That's not going to give them in the order that I want. Well, that's okay. Because we can just use these in keys to look up this text later. It's not a problem. So for each of these, what we want to do is move this on up into here. We're going to be making a cave claw value button. Making a new button, we're setting the parent, we're setting the text, we'll just set that to value for right now. Set the width equal to that, set the position equals this plus that plus 100 times key minus 1 to keep bumping them over by so much. Okay, and then we have a handler which is going to do images of that concatenated with the value. Okay, let's see how off the mark we are there. Okay, wow, those buttons are way too big. You know, it's fine for right now. Okay, so what we want is to go ahead and deploy a cave claw. And then we can say it's uncommon. Oh no, it's actually rare. It's incomparable. It's legendary. Let's say it's rare, and go ahead and deploy another cave claw, and that one's incomparable. And go ahead and deploy another cave claw, and that was uncommon. Cool. And deploy another cave claw, and that was legendary. Awesome. Legendary doesn't look that different. which is a problem. But legendary feels unnecessary almost, because if you found a huge chest, you are working outside the parameters of this plugin if you don't pick it up. So, I actually don't think we care about that. Let's come on in. Nope, not that one. Let's come on in here and say, you know what, we're not going to bother with this. You only get this if you found the huge chest. Pick it up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and call that a win, because it also means we have enough room for all the other buttons. Okay, so we can deploy, we can change what color it is, telling us what we found there, in case we want to go back and do some more searching. So deploy, I found a large there. Deploy, it was uncommon. Deploy, another uncommon. Awesome. Now, uncommon and the default search one being yellow, I think I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think that would definitely be more than enough for what I'm looking for right now. So, what else are we looking to do? Lay down circles of maximum value on your last /LOC. Change color of circles. Done and done. Maybe shrink cave claw effect down to 25 meters. Okay, mark a specific dig site with detected value. Again, maybe it's just a me thing, but if you find something better than small, you just dig it up. Or if you don't, then you didn't care about anything at that level and you don't dig any of them. And either way, I guess the thing I would say is it'd be nice if marking an area with uncommon means all the circles there go dark, because I don't want to dig up smalls most of the time. Maybe that could be an option. So add option to not clear all circles in an uncommon area. But by default, we are going to clear them. And so the way we do that, we actually already have ways to do a check of what is within range. So let's go ahead and play with that. So if value equals uncommon, then hide any circle, any dig sites in range of this circle. So what we want to do, cave claw distance. Yeah. So what we want to do is basically this. So we want to iterate through. What's up with this? Redefine local unused I. That's fair. For cave claw index. No, dig site. Dig site index to dig site. And that's actually a map button. Map button. Map button index. In the pairs of the dig sites, we want to call, instead of value, we're going to call it map button. We're going to call the get distance on that. Last known position is what we want to use. Cool. Longitude, latitude. If the distance is less than that, we want to go ahead and say whatever we did to hide it. We didn't actually make a function for that? No, okay. We want to go ahead and say function map button deactivate and function map button reactivate, just for completion. Okay, so deactivate is this stuff. And we're going to go ahead and say self deactivate. And in here, the fact that we had to have a comment there at all, very suggestive we were doing something wrong. Self reactivate. I'm avoiding just the word, the function activate, because that is already defined to mean something else. Okay, so now we can actually call deactivate on this thing. So map button deactivate. Oh, you know what? Is that a reasonable thing? Yeah, I think it's fine. Deactivate. And otherwise, we don't care. Let's give that a try. So we're going to go ahead and unload and load. We're going to go ahead and deploy a cave claw and say it was uncommon. Oh, that's neat. Once the cave claw circle has been reduced a little bit, that's going to be really satisfying. Okay, so if we come on over here and say, oh, what? We're going to go ahead and deploy a cave claw there. It was rare. Nothing happens. Great. Come on over here. Deploy a cave claw. Oh, it was uncommon. Shoom. Don't care about any of those. Okay, that's going to really play into the way I use this, which is to say I don't care about smalls. If I wanted smalls, I would just go pick up the nearest plant, and either it's a small or I'm happy because it's not a small. It's win-win. If you need whatever's in smalls, just go nuts. Pick up everything. Okay, that's very cool. Let's go ahead and look at our to-do. Mark a specific dig site with a detected value. I don't know that I care. Again, I'm just going to dig it up. So pass. That was an interesting idea. And remove it from the list. Done. We can do that. Maybe shrink cave claw down effect. Yep. And add option to not clear all circles in an uncommon area. Yeah, that's for later. Okay, just coming in here, grabbing these while I think. So I think we've made some really good progress, which is great because the festival still has 11 hours to it. But I think I am going to play around with this a little bit more tonight to make sure I'm not missing anything else. I need to shrink down the cave claw diameter size. I think we've seen where it's just a little bit too big. Not necessarily a lot too big, but a little bit too big. So we want to shrink that down a little bit until more testing shows us whether it's the right size or not. Basically, if your cave claw goes to an area outside of the circle, then the circle is too small. And if you end up excluding things that shouldn't be, it was too large. So that's the metric I'm going to use with a lot of just hands-on testing. Oh, Defeated says, I found another problem. What do you find? Is it you have more than 50 of something and it doesn't show you the right count of your items? Because there is a patch for that. Oh, when you loaded the Riches plugin, it ate your Delving reward chest. I gotta say, I find that a little unlikely, but what I would throw out there is the Delving reward chest expires after an hour, and that might have been coincidental rather than causal. One thing I would definitely recommend is open those up as soon as you can, because if it expires, it just goes poof. One thing that really helps me with that is the Prime Bags plugin. Let me show you what I mean. Prime Prime plugin is a collection of a bunch of different plugins, and I don't use most of them. But one thing, I don't know if I could say I can't live without it, but I certainly wouldn't want to play the game without it the way I play. And that's the Prime bag. So let's go ahead and pull that up. So remember to hit that green circle to refresh the list, and Prime bags. So what Prime bags does is it gives you an all bag, but will categorize them into sub bags. And you can make your own sub bags for this. So, for instance, I have a bunch of things I run around with that's sort of like my base set. My food, my scrolls, my hope tokens, all that. I don't want to care about those, so I just have a bag called base into which I put them. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So categories. Oh, and actually set minimum for all is 1. Cool. Categories, new category. We're going to call it base. And this is just a me thing. This is where I'm going to throw all the things that I don't want to be told about because it's supposed to be there. So all these foods and hopes and scrolls, I don't want them to be in a consumables bucket. I just want them to be there. Oh, these strings, yep, that's good. Oh, healing potions, definitely. Power potions, and my wild root whistle, yeah, you got to have that. Sure, let's start with that. So, you close the settings, it reloads the plugin, and now there's a base bucket where all those things are. Oh, you know what? I missed a few. Let's go ahead and add some more. My drum, obviously, my portents, got to have those. And nope, don't need that. Cool. Awesome, I'll get to that in a second. So, one thing I will do is I'll make a category called Open Me Now, right? Open Me Now. And into this, I will throw things that I have absolutely no reason to leave around. And I would definitely want a reminder to open it up because it's either going to expire or it's using up inventory that it doesn't need to. Think like enhancement rune boxes. They're just going to open up into a stackable enhancement rune. You don't want those boxes usually. I would also put the delving rewards in there. Let's pretend that this clarinet is a delving reward box. I would put that in there. And you'd need to do each delving tier. So you're going to have 12 entries in here. But then, once you have them in there, anytime you go to your inventory, you're going to see a thing called Open Me Now. And you're going to be like, oh yeah, I should open that. And you don't have to remember. You can have the game remind you, Open Me Now. So Prime bags is super useful. I love it dearly. There's a few oddities that I think I would change if I wanted to. For instance, there's this funny glitch where if you do a search, like clarinet, the search box doesn't scroll properly, or it doesn't hide when it goes out of range of the main window. But you know, whatever, that happens. Anyway, there is a button to take off all of the things that you're wearing, so beware, I don't like that button. But there's also a button right next to it, which is super useful, which is collect all your disparate things together in stacks, which is really useful if someone else trades you stuff that you already have. So for instance, let's say I have a bunch of these half stacks of picks. I can just click this little loot button, and they combine together into... well, they theoretically combine together into the most efficient number of stacks possible. Sometimes you need to hit it a couple of times. Anyway, so that's Prime bags. Definitely recommended. Egg Arthur points out there is a patch to show more than a stack of items in Rich over on LOTRO interface. So if we come on over here, Rich, and you can see some patches in here, like one from Egg Arthur, which says items and token bug fixes and enhancements, which fixes 2 particular issues. You can see here I've got 178 of the picks, but it only shows 50. This patch fixes the problem by looking for more than one stack before it gives up, I assume. And also, if you spend down to 0, it was confusing it. Although, how anyone can ever spend down to 0, I don't know. I haven't figured that one out. Okay, so that's Prime bags. Definitely recommended. And throw all of your expiring items into there so that you just have, when you're glancing through, oh, what did I get? What did I get? Oh, open me now. Oh, yes. Let the game help you. Now, you can also I'm sure there are plugins out there that could look for you acquiring one of these things, and when you transition out of an instance, could pop up a big window saying, "Open your delving chest," or your expirable item. Or if you're getting it from turning in a quest, it could just look for that and say, "Hey, you just got an expiring item." Like, you could have a plugin remind you with that as well. There's lots of ways to accomplish this task. Obviously, I don't have this particular patch installed right now. Otherwise, these numbers would be much higher. But it's neat that that patch is there. Like I said, Arthur, if you don't mind, I might roll some of those changes in for this patch between now and November, so that people can use both of them in one go for the next buried treasure event. Okay. What do we got? Yeah, I think I'm going to play around with using this. I think I've done everything I wanted to do on stream to make this map as helpful as it is, except maybe resize this circle. So while I resize this circle, now's a great time to put any last minute questions, comments, concerns into chat so that we can have time to look at them before the end of the stream. We're going to go ahead and say, this was 29, almost 28. Let's come on down to here. If 0.15 is 30 meters, and roughly it is, we were seeing 0.05, 0.05, 0.05 on those numbers there. 0.05, 0.10, 0.15. So roughly, if we wanted to bring that down, 25 almost feels too small. But that's the, if you're going for nice round numbers and you were bumping it up from 20, you might just do it to 25. I don't know. My other problem is when you release one of these cave claws, I do not know if it's starting from where you are or where the cave claw is. But if it's where the cave claw is, you'd really want to step over and redraw your circle. I don't know, how much is 25, how much is 5 meters? Like if we are on this spot right here, we are at 23. So if we back it out to 28, it's that distance. It's not that much. But the one we missed was right on the edge. And, right? Okay, if 0.15 equals 30, then 0.28 equals... No, that didn't work. Wait, and then 28, and x equals 28. Perfect. Uh, 0.14. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and do 0.14. And in that case, 28 equals 0.14 times that. Sure do need that equal sign. Times that. Divided. That would bring us down to, it's just not a big change. It's a 3 pixel change. But maybe that's enough. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's do a 3 pixel change. So we're going to come on in here and be sad because we have duplicated these circles several times. So we're going to go ahead and make a new one, which is 138 by 138. Add a new background layer that is transparent, because I definitely want to include transparencies here. And we are going to go ahead and start by making it white. And we're going to go ahead and bring that down to 10%. Actually, I think we wanted yellow first of all. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and export this as, and we're going to make a couple of new things. So resources, I know laundry alarm. I'm not ready to do the laundry though. Okay, we're going to call it big circle 28 meter, and this one is yellow. And that's opacity 10. Now, for the 25 opacity ones, we'll go ahead and just run through those real fast, just so we have them. And that's going to be yellow, white. Actually, I was noticing some edge issues. So we're going to make sure we're not filling over. We're going to just fill a fresh selection. Okay, so purple or magenta. Cyan. No, go ahead and go from fresh. And finally, orange for legendary. But again, we're probably not using that, so that'll get cleaned up before we ship this, as well as so much of this. Okay, so those have been rendered. I guess we should save this. Save as. Cool. Now that we have those, let's go ahead and 28 meter. Let's change all of those references in the code. Okay. In the globals, any place where it says almost 30 meter, we're going to go ahead and replace that with 28 meter. And then notice that we included a underscore there. That was a mistake. Cool. And let's just make sure we have each of those. So we have 28 meter cyan, orange, purple, yellow. And then we have yellow opacity 10. We've spelled that out here. Okay, let's give that a try. Well, we need to actually update that in here. So map win, we need, that was 141 before. That's strange, radius. Oh, of course, we had done that. So we want this to be half of 138. And then the cave claw distance, we're just going to say it's 0.14. Okay, let's give that a shot. Okay, so we are here. Tell you what though, I feel like we've already searched here recently. Let's give a search down here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and release that cave claw. We've said we've deployed it. And it's a medium. So we can go ahead and call that rare. Didn't actually record which one I dug up, but it was that one. Okay, feel pretty good about that one. We're going to launch a Cave Claw, deploy the Cave Claw, and that was uncommon, so all of those get excluded. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, I am super enthusiastic about using this for the next 5 hours and also in 6 months. Deploy the Cave Claw. I always love it when it runs past something else because it's probably not going to be terrible. Sometimes they run a really long way to get to a small, though, and you're like, was that really necessary? Okay, deploy a Cave Claw. That was a large. Now, sometimes if I get a large, I'm not afraid to try again. See what happens. It's a medium. And we can see the newer one is kind of on top of the older one. If we wanted to be really clever, we could try to search for overlaps and do something about that, but not today. All right, small dig site. So that's what we're calling uncommon until I fix the naming. Okay. I'm going to say that is fantastic. That's pretty much everything I wanted. The only thing that's not there that I don't even know if I want is the state of the dig sites and the places you've searched do not get persisted when you log out or when you unload the plugin and load it back in. And I think I'm okay with that. In general, I would only be unlogging personally, I'd only be unloading the plugin if I was going to be away from the keyboard for a long period of time, and I didn't want those that historical record of how many of them I'd been present for to kind of artificially inflate. Otherwise, if I'm logging off, I might be switching to another character, and that's where I start to get a little bit like, because if I'm using that character to come back into the dig, then I'd kind of like them to have all that knowledge. But if the dig is still active and I'm using that knowledge, I probably would be using it on this character. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But right now that stuff is not persisted out. And it could be, but it's not as simple as some persistence where you're just saving a number. Because we need to save the location of each of these and the color that we saved it as, which is very doable. Whether each of these is disabled or not, very doable, but Agartha says, if you're logged out, how would you know it's even the same round? It's a great question. So one thing that I've added to this plugin recently, which makes a big difference over here on Treebeard, is I save out the start of the round, and then if it's within a certain amount of time when I load the plugin back up, it just says, oh, okay, you're probably still in the same round. And I would probably take that a step further and say, when we save the file, maybe just put out the timestamp into the file of what time do we think it is right now. And then when we load, if it's been less than a certain amount of time, and if the amount of time since the beginning of the round is less than a certain amount, go ahead and treat it the same. Because for testing purposes, if you unload the plugin and then load it back in, it's just waiting for a new round, which is very frustrating if it's like, I'm confident it's the same round, I've been sitting here the whole time, which is not a general use case. But yeah, if you're logging off of a character and logging back into a character, you don't know, but maybe you do know. Maybe maybe you're talking with another person and they're like, oh yeah, it's the same round. So for testing purposes, definitely I've added a thing where it saves off when the last round was and it just remembers. But But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a solid sense of it. And the same thing applies for all of these things. Like if you're just unloading the plugin and loading it back in for testing purposes, maybe you want all of that. And if you're just switching characters real fast, maybe you want all that. But yeah, you don't know. Great question, though. Thank you. Okay, well, we've run well past the normal stopping time, and we've made some great progress. So thank you all for joining me on the last 3 hours of talking about the Buried Treasure event. With that, I think that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I do hope to see you all next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.